Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Another day, another week, another reading vlog. We are towards the end of the week when I'm starting this one, and I only have 4 books slated because I only had 3 more left on my 18 books for the month, plus I had like a seasonal read that I wanted to throw in. I do not know if I'm going to read a 5th one in this vlog, mainly because I'm trying to get stuff filmed and edited so that I can do bookmas. So I have quite a few videos I want to pre-film this month to do that. I don't know that I want to extend this vlog out any more than these 4 books because I don't think it's going to take me very long to get through these 4, so that gives me a good chunk of next week to get caught or to get ahead for bookmas. So that was ranting, but anyway, we're going to do the final reading vlog of November, and it is the final 3 books on my 18 books that I wanted to read this month, plus 1 extra, like I said. So first up is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This is a sorority girls, but they're also witches, mystery, fantasy kind of thing. I have started reading this, so we'll get back to it in a minute, but so far I'm liking it, but more on that in a second. I'm also going to read Twisted Hate, which is the 3rd book in Anna Huang's Twisted series, and this is Josh and Jules. Josh is Ava's brother from the first book, and Jules is like her best friend. There's a group of 4 of the girls, but like Jules and Ava are best friends. And they hate each other. Josh and Jules do. So this is a hate to love romance. Also like best friend's brother, sister's best friend, little sister's best friend kind of thing. So I don't think I've heard the greatest things about this one, but as long as it's not overdone on the like hate part of it, I think I'll like it. The Twisted Games epilogue hinted it didn't hint, really led into this one, so I'm interested if that's where it'll start, or if it will start a little bit before that, and we'll see how it got to that point. I have enjoyed that series, so I am looking forward to it. And then I have You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This is a thriller about a woman that goes to this town to kind of get away. I don't know what I called a town. Airbnb on a ranch in the middle of Wyoming. So it's not a town. It's like this ranch out in the middle of nowhere. And the owner is this handsome guy, and they kind of bond, but they also know that they're both keeping secrets from each other. And there's a missing woman. That's all I know. I don't go into my thrillers knowing much because I want to kind of find it out as the author wants me to. I don't know how many books I've read by her. I know I read The Perfect Marriage. I don't know if I've read any of her other books. I don't think so. But I liked The Perfect Marriage. It wasn't great, but it's still a good time. And then my seasonal read is The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. And this is the 2nd book in the Dream Harbor series. And I'm not expecting this to take me that long to read and to have any more plot than the first one did. This is just a fun seasonal read to kind of, have a little bit of a brain break and a cute little fun romance. There's really nothing much to these, but you need that every once in a while. So, and I just couldn't pass up these book covers. They're adorable. So that'll be the final book, I think, for this vlog. Back to The Ravens. We're following like a few different girls. We're following Vivi and Scarlett. So Vivi is brand new at this university. She has been with her mom her whole life, and they've moved around a lot, and she's not really sure why. And her mom's kind of into like tarot reading and stuff like that, and that's how she's basically dictated their life. When she like pulls a bad tarot card that's ominous, she's like, we gotta move, we gotta get out of here. And Vivi's kind of sick of that, so she goes off to college. She wants to go off to college, and she picks a school because then she can like settle down and make friends and be somewhere for 4 years. And she ends up going to this school where there's this sorority. I don't remember what the Greek initials were for it, but they also call themselves the Ravens because you have to be a witch to get into this sorority, and they have ways of like figuring out who has magical powers and all that kind of stuff. But there's something deeper and darker going on that we're only getting glimpses of. And so Scarlett is, I don't know how old she is. She's definitely not a freshman, but it sounds more like she's a junior, even though it said she wants to be president of the sorority for 2 years, which I don't know how that'll work because there already is a president. But anyway, Scarlett is in the sorority already, and something happened with pledges. I think it was a year or 2 ago, and there's things coming out about that, and that's all I really know. So Vivi is trying to learn about the sorority, and she's pledging the sorority, and then Scarlett is dealing with this other stuff, but they're obviously interacting because it's not a very large group of girls because you have to be a witch. Not like a ton has happened, but we'll see how it goes. I did buy the second book in this series, which is The Monarchs. So I'm interested to see. I think it might be Kappa Phi New because it's KPN, but I don't know. This would have been a really good read for October, but alas, I didn't pick it for October. So far it's fun. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a quick read. I think it's YA, so I'm about 150 pages in, and I really only read it this morning and then at lunch, so it's a pretty quick read. So I'm gonna settle in for the night and get to reading, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Happy Friday, thank God. I finished The Ravens this morning. I didn't finish it last night because I got tired, but I finished it this morning at work. This was a fun read. I definitely liked it more than I anticipated, knowing that I just like kind of picked it up on a whim at Ollie. I got The Monarchs, which is the second book in this series too, from Book Outlet, and I am excited to read it. This story could be read as a standalone for sure, because it did kind of conclude enough that like you don't need to go on. So I am excited to go read what The Monarchs is about, because I don't know where it's going to go from here, because the story in here did kind of conclude. But it was like, it felt like watching an old episode of Charmed is like the best way I can describe that. I was a big Charmed fan back in the day. It was like my favorite show to come home from school and watch, but I haven't watched it in like forever, and that's like the kind of vibe it gave me. Now I'm going to move on to Twisted Hate. I didn't start this yet because I am still reading a book from another vlog. I'm trying to finish up a nonfiction from the previous vlog. So I read that at lunch today, but I'm going to pick this up, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm actually going to read it on my Kindle when I go to sleep because it's so much easier to read on that. And I will update you all where I make it in this tomorrow. But basic premise is we have Jules and we have Josh. Jules is Ava's best friend and Josh is Ava's brother. Ava was the female lead in Twisted Love, the first book. And they hate each other. There's been like animosity between them like shown in all of the books. So this is a hate to love. I think it's like enemies with benefits. Yeah, enemies with benefits arrangement. No jealousy, no strings attached, no falling in love. But we all know how that's gonna end. But I don't know how I feel about this one because I don't read a lot of enemies with benefits books. I read a lot of enemies to lovers, but none that really start off this way. So we'll see how I feel about it, but I'm excited. I've enjoyed the first two books, so I'm interested to see how I feel about this one. So I will update you all tomorrow. All right, update. I've been going back and forth between reading this on my Kindle and in the actual book. And I'm about 50% of the way through, and I like it. It's just really spicy. So it's been the spiciest out of the three of them so far. They've gotten progressively spicier, but I mean, it is just a true enemies to friends with, or not even friends with benefits, enemies with benefits to now they're starting to be like, oh, maybe I do have feelings because I like spending time with so-and-so and whatever. We're at the point now where they're questioning that. And we are also at the point where we're about to be at the, I think we're about to be at the epilogue for Twisted Games. So finally, it took us half the book, but we're finally there. So this was, the first half was stuff that was happening prior to that. It's a romance. I mean, nothing super duper to write home about, but I'm liking it, and it's quick. I've been trying to film and edit videos for bookmas today, so I haven't read as much as I would have liked, but I'm still happy with my progress on both fronts. So I'm gonna settle back in and read that now again, and we'll see how far I get. Just finished Twisted Hate, and I really liked this book. I think that it was a very like non-traditional romance for me. It was, I don't typically do like enemies with benefits books. That's not something I look at, but I liked it. I thought that it was a very like, I think there was a lot of emotion in it, good and bad, and that I think helped with the story. It was a really, really spicy book at the beginning, but I think the second half tapered off a little bit and focused more on the actual like connection between them in the story. So I liked the second half of the book a lot better than the first half, but it was still enjoyable. And now I have the final book left in that series, Twisted Lies, which is Stella and Christian, and I'm looking forward to that book now that we got a little bit more of them in this one. And now I'm going to read You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, and this is a thriller about a woman who like tries to get away and goes and stays at this ranch in the middle of nowhere, and the owner, her and the owner like have a little bit of a connection, but they're both like keeping secrets from each other, and neither of them really trusts the other one. But That's all I got. And then I think there's a missing woman involved. Typical thriller. So I'm gonna start this tonight and see how far I get, and I will update you all in the morning. Okay, so update on You Shouldn't Have Come Here. We're following Grace, who is from New York City, and she has come to, I believe it was Wyoming, I think, on her vacation from the city, and she just kind of like randomly picks a place in the US every year by throwing a dart at a map. And this is where it ended up. So she's staying at Calvin's house because he has an Airbnb within his house. And as soon as she gets there, she's seeing like, there's like weird things that she's noticing, and she just doesn't really truly feel comfortable in the house in the area because it is in the middle of nowhere. And she has like an encounter at a gas station first thing that really creeps her out. And then you have Calvin, who, this house was like a farm as well. And there's just like weird immediate attraction between the two of them that they keep talking about. And it gives me, it's icky because like, it was like insta-lovey, but then at the same time, she's hesitant to like obviously she's leaving, so she shouldn't have feelings for this guy. But he is, in his mind, like trying to figure out how to make her stay. So there's other characters in town, like everybody, there's this other girl that like is in love with Calvin who keeps showing up, and like there's obviously an animosity there, and then his brother's involved. And the town is like very small. Everybody knows each other. So I don't really know exactly what's going on yet. There's this girl that was supposed to stay at his Airbnb like a few weeks before her, that the cops show up and are like, she's missing. Have you seen her? And he said, no, she never showed up. I canceled her reservation. And like, there was proof of that on the Airbnb website. But like, Grace is questioning why they came to ask him if she never technically showed up. So that was like a three-page like interlude, and nothing has come from that since then. So I'm assuming that's going to come back into this in a big way. Not much has happened though, other than they just keep talking about in their minds how much they like each other, and they just keep flirting. And then at the same time, she's like, I don't feel safe here. So not the greatest. It's quick. Like I'm getting through it quickly. But nothing like super exciting happening yet. So I'm hoping it picks up so that I can get through the second half pretty quick and move on to the Cinnamon Bun bookstore, because I'm very excited to read that. So I'll update later. Okay, I've been filming and editing bookmas videos for the past few days, which I got a few done, which makes me happy because I still have a week left of November, so I can still get a few more done this week, especially since I kind of have a half week of work because of Thanksgiving. But I'm tired. And I've been reading as like the videos are uploading and exporting and stuff, because that takes time and I don't like to touch my computer when that's happening. So I just finished You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I didn't hate it, but the ending was good, but the rest of the book I could have done without, if that's a weird thing to say. But I really didn't like the interactions with the characters in the story and everything as it was going on, but the ending was good. So take that as you may. The ending kind of came out of nowhere too, and I kind of hate that. It's not like it's a twist. It's just I'm gonna make you think this is what's happening the entire time, but really there's this like out of left field storyline going on behind. It didn't flow well. Like it was a cool ending, but it didn't flow well with the rest of the book, I think. So that was my thoughts on that. And now I'm gonna move on to the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. Second book in the Dream Harbor series, and the first one was just a good time. It was a fun time. Not looking for severe plot development or anything, or well-rounded characters. I just want to have a good time reading a seasonal romance. So going to make some dinner, and I think I'm done with videos for the day. So I think I'm gonna make some dinner and then just sit down and read this. Time to wrap this up. First book I read was The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This is a sorority full of witches, so it's like a fantasy with a little bit of romance and a little bit of mystery. And it was better than I was expecting it to be. I'm actually looking forward to reading The Monarchs, which is the second book. Overall, I gave this 3.5 stars and half spice. Then I read Anna Wong's Twisted Hate, which is the third book in the Twisted series, and this follows Jules and Josh. This starts off like they hate each other. They've hated each other and like picked on each other and were just rude to each other for the past 2 books. And this picks up a little bit into like after the first book, but kind of part way through the second one. And they end up having to like work together. So they're in an area together for a while and they have to get along professionally, and they end up like the flirting and everything just continues on, and eventually they strike up like an enemies with benefits situation. And then of course we all know what happens. It's a romance. More feelings come out of that. But there are like, both of them are kind of holding secrets from each other, more Jules than Josh, but they're both kind of holding back. So that's also something they had to work through. But I did really like this. It was a very spicy book. I think these are getting spicier the further along they go. So I'm not sure what Christian and I can't remember her name, the social media influencer's book is going to be like, but this was the spiciest so far. 3.75, 2.5 spice. Then I read Geneva Rose's You Shouldn't Have Come Here, and the book and the ending felt like two completely different stories, in my opinion. The story follows this girl that is going out, this woman that is going out to this ranch in the middle of Wyoming and is staying at this Airbnb of this guy that owns like this farm ranch kind of thing. And there's like this missing girl there's this missing girl that comes into play. The sheriff comes looking for her, and she was supposed to be a guest at this Airbnb, and he said she never checked in. And there's just like weird things that are happening and things that are making Grace, our main character, uncomfortable the entire time. And her and, what was his name? Calvin have like an immediate like kind of attraction to each other. You're getting that idea from both of them that they're just very much attracted to each other. So this is in dual point of view. You're getting Calvin and Grace's point of view. So you do know that there's like an immediate attraction between the two of them, but that they're both holding secrets. And the twist that happened in this was almost like out of left field, that it didn't flow with the story. So that's probably my only gripe about this book. And in general, not only gripe, in general, just the story was uncomfortable and kind of weird and a little bit too like insta-lovey, but also not really. So I gave this 3 stars because I'm not mad that I read it. It's just definitely not even close to being my favorite thriller. I did border on like 2.75 and 3. So if you can get over the like weird relationships and the weird interactions, like it's an interesting twist, but it just felt very different from the actual story. So 3 stars, 1 spice. And then I read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. This follows Hazel and Noah, who we met in the first book in Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And Noah came to town a few years ago, and he runs like the fisherman's tours. Like he takes people out to go fishing on the bay. And Hazel runs the town bookstore. She manages the town bookstore. And she's kind of an introvert, like about to turn 30, and felt like she's never done anything and she hasn't done anything exciting, and she never really lived her 20s like she should have. And these like little notes keep showing up at the bookstore, and he convinces her that like maybe it's somebody trying to put you on like a treasure hunt, a scavenger hunt to help you enjoy your last like 3 months as a 29-year-old. So he's like, let's together do all of these fun things that it's suggesting you do. You know that they're both attracted to each other. You knew that Noah was attracted to Hazel and had a crush on Hazel in the last book. And now you know that Hazel actually shares those feelings too. But they're both like, he's a town rake and doesn't have serious relationships and doesn't hook up with anybody or date anybody from town. He just hooks up with the people that come into town for like trips. And she's just like a mousy little bookstore girl and shouldn't be like involved with somebody like him. So they just basically have this like summer of fun together, and obviously it's a romance. Again, we know that deeper feelings come out. But this was really cute. I think I liked this one more than the first one. I gave this 3.75 and 1.5 spice. So there we have it. This was only 4 books. I was gonna put a 5th one in there, but this closes out the TBR that I had planned on reading this month. So the last final week of the month will be just whatever I want to read, and that'll just be in the wrap up. But it was a fun week. Nothing like out of this world, but I still had fun with all of these, and that's about it. So let me know in the comments if you've read any of these. Let me know your thoughts if you have any of these that you're excited to read, if you maybe have them on your TBR. And I thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far in the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.